He asked most college graduates, and student loan debt is a major concern. Tonight, details on a new bill that would allow students to repay tuition interest-free.
Then the fallout continues from last night's massive fight on a local high school basketball court. Coming up, the latest on what's being done with players involved.
And later, investigators are still trying to figure out what sparked a deadly house fire. Coming up, how the only survivor was able to escape the blaze.
On the air. You're watching the next generation of news. The 23 News Update at 10 starts now.
Good evening and welcome to 23 News Update at 10. I'm Mike Garrigan.
And I'm Whitney Martin. Thanks for joining us tonight. Students nationwide are graduating college on average nearly $30,000 in debt. That's according to a recent study, and now a proposed Illinois law could help those new to the workforce.
23 News reporter Lauren Kravitz tells us why some lawmakers would like to see interest-free loans.
If you're paying student loans, these large numbers may look familiar. It's the thousands of dollars in debt you might owe and the hundreds in monthly payments.
Life beyond high school.
Courtney Ring has $65,000 in student loan debt after getting her undergraduate and master's degrees from Rockford University. She now pays about $600 a month.
What's killing me is the interest rate just keeps compounding every quarter.
To help future students, Illinois lawmakers are considering a state loan program with no interest. They're looking at Pennsylvania as an example.
They allow up to, those families up to 600% of the poverty level to apply for no interest loan, and then, they pay that back over a period of time, so the fund is recouped, and so they can continue making more loans.
Students attending community colleges or state universities would have to pay tuition after they graduate. Ring says she wishes the program would have been around for her school.
And
even with a teaching job, her student loan payments leave her with next to nothing.
If and when I have any left over, it's usually just enough in spending money. So, we're talking like $30 a month extra.
Now, the measure has passed the House and is now in the Senate. This initial bill would give a task force the go-ahead to just study this program initially.
And of course, speaking of money right now, Illinois obviously doesn't have a whole lot. How is this even being paid
Right.
for?
Well, that was my question today to some lawmakers. They have its own financial issues already, so that's what the study is for, to really explore those options, see if they can even afford this. But most likely, if this did happen, the state would have to pay for most of those loans, but it's a possibility that some private companies and nonprofits could also contribute if they wanted to, but still the state would have to fund most of this.
Yeah.
A lot of money.
Getting that money.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, Lauren.
Some high school basketball players are in a lot of trouble after last night's fight. We'll get an update in just a moment, but first, let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Mark Henderson in the 23 Storm Team Weather Lab. I think March Madness is usually associated with sports, but you can definitely feel Mother Nature has warmed up to that term as well.
Yeah, that's a real good analogy there, Mike. It has been madness to start off. These first 5 days of March have already produced over 7 inches of snowfall. Well, the good news is we'll see things quiet down for a while. Bad news is temperatures will remain below normal for at least one more day, maybe heading closer to normal here on Friday. Still some lingering cloudiness with a disturbance that's passing by to the south, bringing some snow flurries south of Interstate 88 and more so south of Interstate 80. These clouds, though, not around for the long haul. We'll see them clear, at least partially so, overnight tonight, and I expect tomorrow to get off to a partly cloudy and frigid start. 8 degrees here at 6 a.m. with wind chills below 0. Good news is we won't be dealing with that again here, at least anytime soon. We'll have the details on a slow but steady warm up in the cards coming up in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Mark. Players are still waiting to learn the full consequences stemming from that massive on-court brawl at last night's East Jefferson game.
23 News reporter George Rodas has the latest on that fallout and reaction from State Line coaches.
There's a much different atmosphere at Boylan High School, where Auburn and Hononegah square off one night after a nasty brawl following the Jefferson and East game.
The game is the game. It's an unfortunate situation that happened last night. I don't feel that we will see any duplication of that at any point in our season or anybody else's season. It's just an unfortunate situation that happened.
This video, courtesy of the Rockford Register-Star, shows the intense fight where fans and players turned center court into a fight zone. Some players have been disciplined by their schools, but it's IHSA's ruling that could determine the team's fate.
This incident goes against everything we've taught and preached to our kids and student athletes. It goes against the behavior that we see every day in our classrooms and in practice and on the basketball courts and the playing fields.
Onondaga coach Mike Miller says he never wants to see a fight after such an exciting finish. However, he understands the emotions that come with the game.
You want your emotions to help you, not hurt you, and unfortunately, things got out of control last night, and hopefully, everybody in the area will learn for it, and you won't see some ugly things happen.
The penalties can be damaging. If Jefferson forfeits, that means the end of a promising season, and repercussions could extend into next year, also with suspensions possibly and possible mandated sportsmanship training. Mike and Whitney.
All right, thanks, George. There still hasn't been a decision yet when it comes to Friday's game.
That's right. The IHSA is still looking over the video to figure out who is at fault. But players and coaches will likely find out tomorrow if Jefferson will have to forfeit or they get to play.
Of course, we'll keep you updated with that. Meantime, a Beloit woman is fighting for her life tonight after a house fire kills her husband and daughter this morning. Firefighters say 6-year-old Karen Christensen jumped out of the second-story window of her home on Fairview Drive in Beloit as it went up in flames at around 3 this morning. Neighbors tried to help the rest of her family, but Christensen's husband Clint and 33-year-old daughter Jamie never made it out. Firefighters say the flames were so intense that crews had trouble getting into the home. Christensen is listed in critical condition and is being treated for burns and smoke inhalation. We still don't know the cause of that fire. A 31-year-old Rockford man is dead after police say he was found at the bottom of a pool this afternoon at the Cloisters condominium complex in the 2900 block of Sunnyside Drive in Rockford. Officers are calling it an accidental drowning. Police aren't releasing the victim's name just yet, or if he may have fell into the pool. We're not sure what happened. We're told he did not live at the complex.
A Lee County teenager is heading to prison after he pleads guilty to killing a Dixon woman by dragging her nearly 20 feet with his car. 19-year-old Keith Shoemaker was sentenced today to 3 years in prison for reckless homicide. Last June, 25-year-old Kimberly Landwehr was getting out of Shoemaker's car in the 100 block of East 7th Street when the two got into a fight. Police say Landwehr was leaning inside the car's front passenger side window when Shoemaker took off, causing her to fall under the car and hit her head. She died days later at a Peoria hospital. And after pleading guilty today, the Rockford woman who stole a Winnebago County squad car is heading to prison for 4.5 years. Back on January 16th, Christina McNutt was being transferred from the Cook County Jail on drug charges. That's when she slipped out of her handcuffs and crawled out the back window of the squad when it was filling up at the Mobil gas station off of South Main. McNutt was arrested a few hours after escaping.
Same-sex couples will have to wait a few more months to tie the knot in Winnebago and Boone counties.
This comes despite the Attorney General Lisa Madigan wanting counties to make it legal right away. Winnebago County Clerk Margie Mullins says she wasn't aware of the change until last night. Mullins argues her decision to wait is all timing. She says the terminology on the marriage licenses need to be restructured. Also, the licenses go through a third-party vendor, and they need a couple weeks to make the changes. However, couples can start calling in about a month to set up their marriage appointments.
There is processes on our end that we need to familiarize ourselves with more, that the state has asked us to do, and get the staff trained.
Ogle, Stevenson, and Lee County still have not decided whether or not to wait until June 1st or issue the certificate sooner.
They're still discussing that with the state's attorney before taking any action. A local woman's story is a great example of taking action, and you'll get to meet her this time tomorrow on the 23 News Update at 10. Tina Jacobs lost more than 300 pounds with diet and exercise. She's this week's Community Spotlight, and we'll introduce you to the local mom and reveal her new look. I'll tell you what she's doing also to help others fighting obesity. Again, it's tomorrow on the 23 News Update at 10, so you're not going to want to miss that. But still to come tonight, the war of words continue between Illinois' gubernatorial candidates.
We'll tell you what the group was debating, who was the main target, plus you'll also hear what some local sheriff's candidates are disagreeing on tonight.